Iran has launched a new wave of retaliatory strikes across multiple regional targets, following reports that its long-standing supreme leader was killed during coordinated strikes attributed to Israel and the United States. Iranian state television broadcast emotional scenes of mourning while crowds gathered in major cities. However, and this is critical, independent international confirmation of the supreme leader's death remains limited and contested. In modern conflict, information moves faster than verification. Leadership death announcements can be weaponized for psychological impact, morale control, or strategic confusion. What is confirmed is that high-level political and military targets were struck inside Iran. What remains under investigation is the scale of leadership casualties. Regional fallout is already visible. Several Gulf nations reported being targeted by retaliatory strikes. The United Arab Emirates signaled it would not remain passive if attacks continue. That statement alone suggests this conflict risks expanding beyond a bilateral confrontation. Violent protests have also erupted outside United States diplomatic facilities in parts of South Asia. Security forces clashed with demonstrators. Casualties have been reported, though numbers remain fluid and subject to revision. Then comes the most controversial allegation circulating. Reports claiming that strikes hit a girls' elementary school located near a military installation, with significant civilian casualties. Independent verification of those numbers is ongoing. In conflict zones, proximity to military targets complicates international law analysis. But civilian deaths, if confirmed, will intensify diplomatic pressure and global outrage. Details regarding location and operational circumstances have not yet been released, pending notification of next of kin. This marks a serious threshold. Once American fatalities occur, escalation dynamics shift dramatically. At sea, the strategic picture becomes even more revealing. Two United States carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford, are now positioned near the region. Publicly, this deployment is framed as deterrence tied to Iranian military activity. Strategically, it signals something larger: energy security and global power signaling. Roughly 20% of the world's oil supply moves through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime corridor bordering Iran. China consumes over 10 million barrels of oil per day, nearly half sourced from the Middle East. Any disruption to Hormuz does not just pressure Tehran, it pressures Beijing. This conflict is not isolated. It intersects with global energy flows, naval positioning, and great power competition. Casualty figures across countries are rapidly evolving. Early reports suggest significant losses in Iran, lower but notable casualties in Israel and Gulf states, and limited but symbolically important fatalities for the United States. These numbers remain provisional. Now, leadership uncertainty. Reports describe a temporary governing structure inside Iran involving President Masoud Pezeshkian, Chief Justice Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei, and senior cleric Ayatollah Alireza Arafi. This council reportedly governs until the Assembly of Experts selects a permanent supreme leader. Arafi is described as ideologically aligned with Iran's revolutionary framework, but lacking direct command authority over military forces. That matters. In Iran's system, the Revolutionary Guard wields enormous influence. Political leadership without military loyalty is fragile. Another name frequently discussed is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the current or recently deceased supreme leader, depending on which reports prove accurate. He is often described as influential behind the scenes. However, Iran's revolution was founded in opposition to monarchy. A hereditary succession would be controversial internally and could fracture elite consensus. Then there is the regime change narrative. Some analysts argue this campaign is designed not merely to degrade military infrastructure, but to destabilize the ruling system itself. Others argue it is calibrated deterrence intended to force concessions without occupation. What is undeniable is this: the rhetoric from Washington has been unusually direct. President Trump previously warned that American lives could be lost. Within 24 hours, that became reality. 3 arenas define this moment: military escalation, political consolidation, information warfare. Missiles determine destruction. Narratives determine perception. Leadership determines survival. If the Strait of Hormuz is threatened, global markets react. If Gulf states become directly involved, the war regionalizes. If leadership in Tehran fractures, internal instability follows. The next 72 hours will reveal whether this becomes a contained strike cycle or a structural transformation of power in Iran. We will continue separating confirmed developments from viral claims. Follow Dark Evidence for more.